All right, so as you can see, cleaned almost everything off my rack because I finally found some pieces that I can build what I'm wanting to do with this. So unfortunately, these old like J-hook styles are not common. So I didn't find any like this, but I have that large orange one you see on top there, along with all those extra channels over there for these pallet racks. And what the plan is going to be here is that this bottom shelf is great, but the problem is it's 4 feet deep. So even me at 6'1", I can't even reach all the way back there to get to this receptacle if I'm trying to unplug stuff or plug stuff in or use tools. So the plan here is that these existing ones with the hooks that are big, beefy, and rigid are going to get moved up top here closer, and that is going to be my storage for all of this stuff, plus what I have in the basement will then go on this higher shelf that has this more rugged design that I can put on there, and that way it's off the ground, out of the way, and it's easy to access, where I can just from the side here find what I need, slide it out, get it to where I need to go, and where, you know, life is good, more or less. The idea here is that I've got all these newer ones, so one like this, they're gonna be mismatched, but I mean, for 30 bucks for all the material I need, I kind of consider that a win. And we're just going to not only adjust these, but the back is gonna be lower than it is currently. And that'll work because I'm gonna make this about 28 inches or so shelf to the front of this beam. So this thick beam is gonna become the back one. I've got another one that's not in the shop right now that I'm gonna cut up and use, but the idea here is that we will have, for the front piece, a bracket that ties into here, and then we'll have a little section of box tubing that is right here, and then we're gonna have a horizontal piece that ties in to the back piece, and then off of that horizontal piece, 28 inches from the wall, is where the other one of these will go across the whole length of this. And that'll give me kind of a C-shaped walk-in area where it's 24 inches or 28, like I said, from the front of this to the back for my chest high part of the shelf. And that'll still allow me to get my engine drive underneath without interfering, along with my plasma table, some of my work tables, and things like that that are easy to store under there. So we're gonna jump right into it here in a minute, but that's kind of the game plan, and let's, fingers crossed, hope this thing goes pretty good. So let's get to it. All right, so after work today, I was able to plasma cut out a couple brackets, approximately 1/4 inch piece of material. The plan here is gonna be something like this, where I have a decent amount of overlap, and this will get welded all the way around, so across the top, down, across the bottom, and then on the inside as well, so there's no place for a stress to propagate. And then we're going to etch this out so that we have 4 holes aligning with the bottoms of these slots, or sorry, like these slots right here, so that we can bolt this wherever we need to. And I got 2 of these so we can do this on either side. So the plan here, get these tacked on, welded on, and start with the layout process and go from there. So stay tuned. So welds look decent, nothing too crazy. Probably should have did a practice scoop on beforehand, but it is a little tough trying to do this, you know, thin gauge stuff to thick stuff. But the idea is I go to a setting that's ideal for the thick plate, focus my heat into that, and watch the puddle wash into the thinner plate, and you'll know you have good penetration. So that's kind of the secret to welding dissimilar metals. So both sides here, you know, pretty similar weld characteristics. Probably could have filled this a little bit more, but was worried about burning through completely all the way. And we'll see if we can look under here. You can't really tell, maybe I'll get it light, but you can definitely see that we are burning through this piece of material. So we are definitely getting the penetration we're looking for. So now we're gonna throw this thing up here, play around with some height adjustments, and see where we end up. So stay tuned. All right, so I was initially going to just measure off of the existing brackets to figure out where my holes needed to be, but I figured this was gonna be a pain in the butt. And what I decided was, like you saw in the time lapses, I had this piece at the height where I wanted this one to be. So with that, I marked a line at the height that it was gonna be, and then this block of wood became the top piece where it was, you know, flush with that line going across. I then used that as the top guide, clamped that to the pole, and then used a vice grip on the bottom to hold it in place. And after that, I drilled the first hole through the bottom of the rectangle, so gravity is pushing it down where it needs to go. And I've got one side installed. Now what I'm gonna do is continue onto that side. I'm gonna have 4 bolts on each bracket, and these are 3/8/16 threads per inch with a locking washer, and that should get us right to where we need to be. All right, so my camera died, but just wanted to kind of update you where we're at. Ended up getting all the bolts installed on these. Sorry, it's a little dark back here, but I don't have my light with me, but pretty much what I did was made sure it was the same height on both sides, checked it with a level, drilled my holes, bolted everything together, and life is looking pretty good. This is gonna be nice and solid for me. So the next part, and what's gonna be a little difficult, is mounting this piece that runs perpendicular to that back part. So kind of my plan with this is I'm gonna have to make 2 specialty brackets. One on the front is gonna be a square just like this. And then once it gets to the green part, we are gonna extend it down and up. So I have 4 bolting points, just like it on the backside, to make sure this is really strong, because this is gonna hold that floating middle piece that I'll be able to adjust the width based on what I currently am using this for, or if my needs ever change, I can make it a little wider or deeper. This bracket won't be too bad. The one that I'm still pondering on is this one back here, where on the back side, I'm gonna do the same thing, have it punched up against this. And then with this one, I'm gonna have it extend out this way and into this piece right here. So we'll have 4 brackets holding this in place on this side, and then on this back side, it will bolt right here with 2 bolts as well. So something coming off, wrapping the corner, top, bottom, life should be good. And it actually worked out perfectly because we have all these holes on this. So that's when I have my centerpiece, all I have to do is match this lip up on both sides and then build my bracket. So we'll use 2 of these holes at any given time, and I can slide it in and out to the size that works best for what I'm using. So hang tight. I'm gonna make some brackets at work tomorrow morning, and then we'll see what we can do with this. All right, so I got on the roll and forgot to turn my camera on, but pretty much you can see here, we've got a bracket to the front, welded all the way around to this piece, then works its way to the back. And then we have 2 bolts that go through the upright holding this in place. And we've got this where it's nice, flat, and level. And we are almost done on this side with the same thing as well. We've got the back plate welded on and the 2 holes made already. So all we have to do now is just tack this plate on here, weld it up, drill some holes from the backside, and we'll have these 2 done. And then we can work on the cross member here, and we should hopefully have this thing done in the next couple hours. So let's get to it. All right, hard part of this build is done. So just to recap, we have these front brackets holding the horizontals, back brackets in place, and now we have the centerpiece, 4 bolts holding this in place. So I'm sure in that last little time lapse you saw I had to weld on the bottom of these, and the reason for that is, like you probably noticed, these are open. So what I made sure I did was, where I have clamping force, I put a bracket underneath to basically box it in so it doesn't pinch the middle, because that's what I was feeling when I started to tighten these up and realized that, well, that's not gonna be great for this. But the other thing that's nice is that, just giving her a little test here, I mean, old girl here is pretty sturdy. And you know, me being a big boy weighing about 260 tons of fun here, I don't think we're gonna have any issue with this supporting whatever it needs to support for this little shelf that we have. So I think it's gonna work pretty good, but we got a couple things left we need to do. We're gonna let the welds cool. The other thing I wanted to show you real quick as well is, you know, I feel like I'm an okay fabricator most of the time, but sometimes you're better off being lucky than good, as they say. Looking at this, she's pretty sweet, old man, right there. Just a little off, but good enough for what I'm doing this with. You know, all things considered, I've always been a guy who, when you need something to get done, use what you have, do what you can. And you can see we have 1, 2, 3 different styles for these pallet racks to build this bracket. But the nice thing now is, where that outlet is, I'll actually be able to reach from the front back across once this is back against the wall and use that outlet. So that was part of the whole reason to doing this, just better shelving, better space, and then we'll have this extra row for my material that's on the ground, but we'll get to that here in a minute. All right, so it's been a few, gosh, maybe a month or 2 now since I finished this. I've constantly just been organizing, getting stuff out of my storage unit, bringing it here, organizing and selling stuff. So garage isn't completely clean yet, but you can see pallet rack is finished. A couple things that I didn't show on camera was putting all my material up here. So we got these pieces of steel, different sizes, go down to the full length of this thing. And with all that weight being so high up, the one thing I was worried about was having the center of gravity high, making this tippy. So I did end up getting some 2x10s, attach these to the pallet rack, and then I have these lag bolted into the wall. So basically, if this thing's gonna fall down, it's taking the whole building with it at this point. And honestly, there's no wiggle, no give it out of this thing. So I'm pretty confident nothing's gonna happen. It's pretty solid. Other thing I did was I did end up purchasing some wire, I don't know what you call these, baskets, covers, whatever spans the distance here. And just to make sure that that shelf that holds on my steel is nice and strong, put some extra 2x10s that I cut to the length underneath it there as just extra gussets all the way down. And you can see that there's really no sag at all to that middle shelf, even with probably close to 1,500 pounds of steel up on here, with a lot of those being 20-foot pieces. So overall, going to be a big help getting my garage organized. And yeah, main takeaway, if you got to do something, make your life a little bit better in your shop, don't be afraid to do it. There's always a way to do it. And I know I'll get some, you know, feedback on here where I should have not just out, I should have left brackets or have it gusseted like that. And, you know, just little things like that. But the nice thing is we got something that I wouldn't have been able to afford if I was going to flat out purchase it. And now I have something that can be useful to me and help me organize my shop. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, leave a like, and we'll see you in the next video. See ya.